Hey, George.
Hey
Welcome
Adam,
back.
how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Everything's great.
Welcome everyone to today's episode as well. George, I was a little more kind to you, I guess, today, and didn't make you wake up quite so early
Yeah.
in rising. But thank you for making the time. I know the
Yeah.
last couple of weeks we had a couple guests come on. I think it's been a minute since you and I talked together. So
Mhm.
this is I I enjoy our conversations, whether it's the two of us or more all the time. But I do have a special place in my heart for when it's just you and I, because we don't ever have a topic that we're going to
Yeah.
start on, and by the end, it's like, wow, we have more things to talk about.
Right.
Yeah, I well, first off, happy October.
Oh
Um,
yeah. New
I
month.
don't I don't know if I wore this shirt to indicate, for some of us who feel like it's Red
Uh,
October, but who
yeah.
knows?
That's right.
Um, Timing wise, who knows? Um, how have you been? Tell me about your pond. I think the last time you and I talked, we talked about the
Mhm.
pond, clarity in the pond. You got to give it
Oh
time.
yeah.
How's everything going for it?
It's doing great. So much so that I'm going to have to get a little overflow bucket or something for all the plants that have been multiplying that I put in there. But
Really?
yeah, there's put some kind of lilies in there, and I don't know lily pads, and I don't know which one it is, but yeah, we started out with maybe four lily pads, and now we have about eight or nine of them in there now. And the other plant is called hornwort, and it's just it almost looks like a fern, some kind
Okay.
of fern, but it's in the water, and but it does get kind of bushy, like a foxtail fern. It gets bushy and pointy,
Right.
but those are taken over as well now. So I have less and less water space to see the fish move in. So basically,
Right.
everything is so great that it's starting to grow everywhere.
That's awesome. And you put some
Yeah.
fish in there too, right? Did you
Yeah,
say?
there's a couple goldfish. They're doing good. And then some, they're called white clouds. They're a lot smaller, but haven't lost anything. Even a cat was digging his paws in there trying to catch a fish. So everything is good and growing and thriving. And it's interesting because, once I set it up, we had talked about this where it said it's cloudy and it can take a week to 2 weeks for it to get clear and you have to do nothing. And yeah,
Right.
I've been doing nothing and everything is just blowing up.
This is the magic how this happens when you start talking about this. I ask a random question and it just
Mhm.
starts off on other things. So you mentioned about doing nothing, and
Mhm.
now you have multiplying plants and things like that.
Mhm.
My first off, I love to hear that. At some point, maybe
Mhm.
I don't know if herons are common in your area, but that one
Mhm.
might make a visit, see how the fish do with that. But
Yeah. Mm.
um, so doing nothing. I have been, especially the last couple weeks, but especially a couple days. I think I've told you about this. Like I've adopted a rule for myself, that I should try and say about 93% less than what I typically do. And I've kind of expanded on that even further. I have noticed in my life that the more I observe, I'm still participating, but the more I observe and just keep my voice quiet, not that I don't speak up for myself, but just keep quiet, there's a lot of beautiful things that happen really because of it. Me speaking and trying to improve the silence sometime actually almost it 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 keeps things from moving in a direction they're supposed to.
Mhm.
And I think you saw a post I made today, but it was a really good one. I thought I want to read it because I want to get your real time thoughts on it. Let me just see here. So, all right. So, consider that every negative thing holding you back from enlightenment is due to a payoff that you're getting secretly from the ego. So, and when I first read this, I'm like, what is that? What do you mean a payoff?
Mhm.
Um, so, anger comes from being prideful. Anger comes from disappointment. Some perceived gain you thought you hadn't had. I was wronged, or something like that.
Yeah.
And the ego thrives on that negativity. I can give an example for me and my kids. So,
Mhm.
um, there's a balance that I continue to have to improve on for myself, where I want them to behave in a certain way, and I want them to be able to kind of, do certain things, especially in our home that I expect. But yet on the other
Mhm.
side, I I still find myself sometimes too frustrated, even just internally. I might not say it now, so
Mhm.
I'm adhering to the 93%, but still
Yeah.
internally I'm feeling this piece, and that that video that I posted spoke to me. Where is that pride? Is it disappointment that, oh, my child isn't behaving the way I should
Mhm.
want them to, or something like that? And I haven't created a solution yet for myself, but it's really because of me not speaking, it's been able to help me look internally and be like, why am I feeling that way? What's
Mhm.
the thing? I'm not in a rush to try to solve it. Timing's going
Yeah.
to be whatever it is, but I'm just curious. What do you have you gone through that in your life? Are you going through it now? Share a
Uh,
little bit with
in
me.
the past, yeah, and as you were talking, what immediately jumped into mind was I think we all have our comfort levels and things that we like and the way we want things to be. So if someone is a cleaner person than the other person, and you want everything to be clean, then if they do something that's not clean or they don't wipe something up, then you're like, okay, well, I'm not comfortable now. And so it's a little bit control, right? It's a little bit about your comfort level. We all want things to be a certain way, but as we know, we're here and not everything is going to be the way we want it to be. And we may not understand why either,
Right.
because a lot of it is for our growth, right? Like I posted something a while back that reshared that said that pain has a purpose, right? And as we all know, with any addictions we've had or any bad relationships we've been in, it's obvious that, later, years later, once you're past that, that helped you grow in a way. But at the
Yeah.
time, you didn't know that pain had a purpose. And it goes along with what you're saying because it's all about comfort and control and trying to get others to do what you want. It's deeply complicated, I think, when without especially knowing that that's what's happening.
I agree with you. Yeah, you're well, using my example, I'm denying myself the lesson just to try
Mhm.
and have more comfort and control. And control, I think, is a
Yeah.
big thing. I mean, you're being kind to say it's a little bit. I think it's a lot of it. Um,
Yeah, I mean, we all do that. We have all known people that have tried to make us do what we want, or they're always griping about something, right? And really, if you think about the complaints, anyone that complains about anything, whether it's prices of at the grocery store or anything in your life that you can't control, right? If a complaint really is, oh, this isn't the way I want it, right? If you really think
right.
about it, this isn't
That's
the
right.
way I want it. I'm not able to control it, and it doesn't comfort me, So
That's right.
instead of looking at, okay, why is this hard, and we've all been there, and even we may still have things that happen now that we don't stop and think, okay, why is this happening? It's not why is it happening to me? Why is this happening? What, how can I look at it this a different way? We all fall into that, right? We all react and do things, and it's not till later we think, oh, okay. And then you go and apologize for how you were and what you said and did and all
Right.
this stuff, and
Right.
that's just part of it, right? Because then, oh, you had the realization. Now, what
Yeah.
is for you?
It's it's very self-perpetuating to just stay in that cycle. And some of the cycles you're like, well, this maybe is a healthy cycle. I'll give another kid example, and then I'll let go of the kids. But I have we're a blended family, so I have a transition date, and I just happen to go pick up the kids, and my daughter, who's older than my son, really loves to speak for him and really loves to correct him before he can even take a breath to like be speaking or anything else.
Mhm.
And I have for the last 15 years, or however long it is that she's been able to talk and he's been on this earth, um, I've been trying to correct that. And each
Mhm.
transition day, and it's transition coming back and whatever else. So I'm not
Mhm.
used to it either. I'm not even calling out them. I'm actually
Yeah.
thinking more internally, where
Mhm.
I've had this controlled situation for a week. It's my wife and I, and it's a almost a pseudo empty nest situation, which is great. We
Mhm.
would choose to have our kids more, but that's the
Yeah.
it's the beauty of divorce, right?
Yeah.
Um, but so I try and control the situation, and I just try and I'm not angry as I once was about it, but I
Hmm.
do still try and strong arm it. And I'm thinking on the way home, because then of course I have this, transition in the morning. Then I bring that home to my wife and I talk about it. And then we go through a cycle of sort of discussing the same things, which again is all me. It's not anyone else. It's all me. So then I started thinking, well, how can I break that loop? How can I break this time loop of every week
Hmm.
just going around and around and around? Is
Yeah.
it an awful one? No, but it's not a great one. I
Yeah.
thought, I keep talking about speaking less. When I pick them up in the morning, I'm just going to not speak.
Hmm.
And they say hello, that's great. Or, they'd say good morning, I'd say grand rising, but we can
Yeah.
have that
Yeah.
exchange, but I'm just not going to push anything.
Hmm.
And then if I don't ask questions to my son, he won't try and speak. She won't try and cut him off. And then I
Hmm.
won't try that and complete
Yeah.
the cycle by yelling at them all.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'll just wait till I drop her off at school and then I'll talk to him like I could anyway, because it's one on one. And
Yeah.
then I won't bring that home to my wife. And then, but you see where that cycle just gets ended, but it's all due to me internally. And I think,
That's the whole, as you were saying that, I was thinking, the mirror, right? Like it's, Michael Jackson had that song that I'm starting with the man in the mirror, right? I'm asking him to
right,
change his ways. And it really is everything that is happening out there. It really is a reflection of us. And it's great that you think about it that way, but I don't think hardly anybody does. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just what I think, but I don't think really everyone is
yeah,
thinking about that, that person that did that, what was my role in it? How did
yeah,
I add all the little pieces to build that wall of frustration and anger and the fight and everything, and but we don't look at it that way always, right? And maybe not even in the moment, but ultimately we are going to have to realize that the world mirrors our internal, everything that we are is what we're getting out there. um, it's a concept that really wasn't apparent to me until maybe, I don't know, beginning of this year, end of last year, maybe.
yeah,
It was nothing that was ever taught to me. I mean, I had heard throughout my life, karma, and karma's a bitch, and it comes back to get you, and also what you put out, you get back. But
right.
it never really. I mean, all those mean the same. All three of those, along with the mirror. So it's just nothing that, even when it's told to you and you hear it over and over, like, we don't really process it, right? Like someone has to basically say, look, this is how it all works, and
Right.
this is why it happens. And but I see it everywhere now. I mean, I go back and watch an old movie or an old episode of something, because now I'm in the process of going back and looking at things when I was growing up to see the message that was there that I couldn't see because now I'm a different person,
Right.
and now I spot things that it's like clear as day now, but it wasn't back then. It was like the muddied pond, right? Like
Yeah.
it had needed time to clear out. It needed time for me to change to be able to get that clarity. And it's just so weird how all this just synchronizes together. You can't tell me it's not without a purpose,
Yeah.
like it all just goes.
I agree with you. I, I no longer think it's cliche to say everything happens for a purpose, or it's me just saying it to just make
Mhm.
myself be able to feel more love and compassion for whatever, wrong happens. Um, I,
1 second. So you said the famous everything happens for a reason, right? Everything happens for a purpose. And then there's that funny meme of everything happens for a reason. And sometimes the reason is because you're an idiot. And I think it's always that what that is. I really think about it.
right,
It's like, no, the real truth is that everything happens for a reason. And the reason is because you're a dummy.
right,
Like that is the real reason. If you think about it, you're a dummy because you're not paying attention to everything and not realizing how it works. So
that's
that
right.
is the true, I think, what I believe more is the right saying.
I agree with you. And then someone watching this too could say, or me a long time ago would be like, well, I mean, you have to, you can't pay attention possibly to everything. So like, how could you possibly do that? Well, I've started to do it, and it's getting better and better to not speak as much and not kind of,
Mhm.
you know, continue going through cycles like the one I just described.
Mhm.
And part of what I needed to reason through, and it's different being a parent, I think, because, some parents who are listening to this might say, well, Adam, you need to have your kids behave a certain way and she shouldn't be speaking for him. And I get all that. I do, which is a lot of what I've gone through.
Mhm.
But the other side of it is my interaction in a particular day going to change that?
Yeah.
The answer is no, it's not. I might control the situation and I don't hear them do it in my presence, but that's not going to change. Everyone has
It's not
their
gonna
own
change who
mind.
they are, right? And don't they
Correct.
have to learn the lesson for themselves, maybe?
That's right. That's right. And who am I to deny that lesson to anyone, including my children, about
Mhm.
it? Does that mean it doesn't mean I don't care? It doesn't mean I don't want them to be safe, but there's elements of that. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I actually think we have a ton of time in this earth
Oh,
realm if
yeah.
we, and specifically for me, if I'm not talking as much and you're not like involving yourself in drama, or maybe if you see a news report or something like that,
Mhm.
you can feel empathy towards it, but you don't kind of go down some rabbit hole and start thinking about it and what should I do, and what you actually have a lot of time, or at least I've recognized that. I have a ton of time, and the first thing that seems to enter my mind is boredom. You're like, well, I should be thinking about something. Why am I not worried about anything? What am I not thinking about? So your mind and your ego starts like generating these things, these scenarios, or at least mine does, for
Mhm.
like, okay, well, I'm done with this. Now what do I go to? And
Mhm.
and that pause to not really think about anything and let the world just arrive for you and with you doesn't mean everything's good.
Mhm.
I think you have a lot more time to pay attention to things. And George, I've
Mhm.
learned this a lot with you over the last, well, it's been over a year now that we've known each
Mhm.
other. I've learned this a lot from you. When I think when we initially interacted, I struggled more than I do now with
Mhm.
how quiet you typically are, or at least as I've observed. But now I start to see it more as to why, because you're able to pay attention to a lot more things because you're not thinking of the next phrase to say. You're
Mhm.
trying to be more present in the moment.
You want, and also, to be honest with you, I do often think about, a retort or something to say, and I'm like, no, I don't need to do that. It's hard because that was my automatic always. Like I had a friend that we were good friends from middle school through high school and a little bit after, and then we just kind of went our separate ways, which is it's fine. There wasn't a fight, there was an argument. We just stopped
Right.
communicating. We had actually done that a few times over the years for maybe 3 months here, 4 months there, but we always came back, right? It wasn't like anything that happened. Um, and, and I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, about so we liked to debate all the time. We would just pick a subject and it didn't matter. It didn't even really matter what side we were on anything. It was just like, okay, I'm going to take this side of the argument. You're going to take that one. We used to do that
Right.
all the time. We just like debating. So for me, it's just a natural thing. Like I always wanted to be right. I always wanted to make sure I had the right information. I always wanted to put a good argument. And even in things I don't believe in, I still have the ability to argue for them because because I like to look at everything. I know the holes of both sides, if I really dive into a particular thing. So it is hard. I still think sometimes, oh, he said this. I need to remember to say this later. And it's like, no, then I forget about it because it does it. If it matters, you're gonna remember, and you really should be listening. And it's funny because people say, our Creator gave us, two ears and one mouth, so we can listen more and
Right.
speak less, right? But then as I'm looking at the camera and I'm looking at us, well, we have two eyes, we have two nostrils, like all our senses for input or more. Even our touch is our whole body, our whole skin. Like all our inputs are a lot more, and our output is the smallest, right? Just our
Right.
mouth, and it's very very interesting. Even our tongues have multiple different sensors for different types. Sweet, bitter, whatever.
Right.
Um, and that's multiple inputs, right? So if you think about it, we have a lot more inputs to take in information to try to process things than we have to put out. Um, just on a 3D level, right? Just looking at how our body is. So, um, but we all want to be heard. We all want our voice out there. We all want our ideas out there. And I always got in trouble for talking in school. I always wanted to say a lot, and even now I have a lot to say, but a lot of times I don't say it now because it's for me also it's an economy of words sometimes. Why? Is this going to benefit anyone what I'm about to say, or is it just filling space
Right.
where someone may have said something very important or thought provoking, and it's like, wait a second, let's not keep talking. We should be thinking about what this person just said. It was very profound. It was
Right.
very. philosophical, something that really matters to our core. Um, but yeah, we all want to talk. We all want to be heard.
Well, speak when we, it's best to speak when we can improve the silence. And if not, then maybe it's time for a pause, which is interesting. You and I find ourselves on all these conversations, however many episodes we've done, like you kind of need to keep the conversation going. People watching are like, well,
Mhm.
if there's too much dead time, you're not going to want to watch, or maybe you will. I don't know.
Mhm.
A couple times in a row, we've done that pause for maybe 9 seconds or something
Mhm.
like that, just to kind of give space for that. I,
Real quick on your pauses, I like that. I think we should probably start doing them. If someone says something huge, we've had people say things, and sometimes I feel like, okay, maybe we should just pause for a second and let that resonate or let that, hit us a little bit better. And maybe
yeah,
we start doing pauses after something big like that, or something that's, oh, you just said something amazing. Let's take a few seconds and think about it. Let's sit in it.
I agree. I
Mhm.
agree. I think that's great.
Mhm.
Um, I I keep coming back to your 3 Ls. Can you tell the audience, for those who don't know?
Yeah, it's a good reminder. And lately, I've been finding places appropriate for them on X to put them. But um, my 3 Ls are let go, which is the first one and the most important one because we all hold on to something. We hold on to, bad relationships, bad experiences, things that happened that we didn't enjoy. It's, let's just say it's a grudge, right? Maybe you're holding a grudge. Maybe you're upset that someone never apologized, and it's really just forgiveness to everyone in the whole world and say, look, the world's not out to get me. Things just happen the way they happen. And maybe, once again, the pain is for a purpose, right?
Yeah,
So you have to let go of all the things that you're holding inside because really all that does is mess you up. It rots you to the core. The anger and vengeance are going to kill people, right? It's going to make people spiral. So you have to let go of everything. You have to understand even the control stuff, right? Let go of the control, let go of everyone that's wronged you. And then you're free. That's the first step to freedom is you don't have all that weight on you. You can move freely. Then you can move on to living. Once you have that guilt and all that away of how, oh, I'm supposed to be this or I'm supposed to be that,
right.
you can live now. Now you need to live your authentic self. You need to be the person um, that the fun person that you are inside that you don't always share every bit with everyone, right? Because you're afraid of getting criticized. You're afraid of, but if you let go of all those inhibitions, the first L, now you can live. And
Yeah,
once you live, people then can start to know who you are, and then that's how you're going to attract all the good things that you want. By when you let go, now you're free to live and get the things you want, right?
yep,
And I feel that that's the next step. People would think, oh, you need to love first, and love is the third L for me because once you've let go of everything and you've let go of any hatred for yourself as well, and now you're living and enjoying life, that's when people are fun, the
right.
most fun they'll ever be. It's not when they're drinking or at the club or doing all these things that people think or
Right,
what or driving the fancy car. None of that matters.
right.
Living your authentic self is your true freedom, and that's how people know who you are, and then that's the joy that you bring to the world that people can appreciate and love to be around you. um, and then the last one is love, and you're free to love people because you see the beauty in everything.
Yeah,
You can love the animals, the plants, the people, and it doesn't mean you need to be around everyone. Not, you still have boundaries during all of this, right? You don't need to
right.
have toxic people or jobs or whatever it is, right? You can start to see how you can move to a new path where you're happy and work and everything. Um, but yeah, you let go of everything holding you down, live your life, enjoy it, and then you can love everybody and everything.
I I I think of this often since we first talked about it, and I agree with you on the love aspect too, of that being it, it's almost an output from the other two. Now you might have a
Mhm.
little, you might have love to start, like it might be a little
Mhm.
L,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's a big capital L once
Mhm.
you let go and you're living your life. I've
Mhm.
I've been listening a lot to Alan Watts lately, which for anyone who doesn't know, he's very big into philosophy, both Eastern and it's almost a hybrid of Eastern and Western philosophy and religions. And there's this. I just go out on YouTube. That seems to be where the most are, and just things will pop in, and some are
Hmm.
him, some are kind of AI driven, which is fine. I can sort of
Yeah.
tell when it's being said that, and that's okay. And then there's ones that are him live,
Hmm.
and a lot of this, the letting go, at least for me, I can make this a personal thing.
Hmm.
As far as status or a certain amount of money or a certain job or whatever else, there's layers that I've already let go without hearing what he said,
Hmm.
but some things have been really profound lately. That if it is true, and I believe it is true, that each of us are God, we're a
Hmm.
representation of God. There's a piece
Yeah.
of God
We're
within
all
each.
fractals. Yeah.
Right. So if each of us is God experiencing itself, there is going to be inequality in that. Meaning, George has a certain status, makes a certain amount of money. If whatever that is, I do. Someone who's a billionaire does. Someone who's homeless
Mhm.
does. But if each of us look at us ourselves as a representation of God on this earth, that isn't a pride thing. It's not an ego thing. It's just we are all one in that way, but we're different. Now, stick with me for a moment. You can probably
Mhm.
help translate this a little bit.
Mhm.
So, if what I do for work is as far as I'm going to go, but I can let go of anything additional to that, and also let go of not wanting to do it, and falling prey of laziness or something like that. But I also can let go of needing to be something else. When I have this title, when I have this house,
Mhm.
when I have this car, if you let go of all those things, you really do start to live. You live right in the moment where you are. And I also firmly believe there is no present and there is no future. There is no past and there is no
Mhm.
future. Meaning, there's only this moment, and then there's the next
Mhm.
moment, and then there's the next moment. So when you stop letting those thoughts either drift back to the things you might want to try and regret, or the things that haven't happened yet, anxiety is not going to help you get there any better. It's not going to
Mhm.
help you with control or management or anything like
Mhm.
that. It's the moment that you respond to. When you can achieve ever improving moments of living like that, you're going to be ultimately you're going to be led to love whether you know it or
Mhm.
not. And I think that's an inflection point that's hard for many of us.
Yeah, you mentioned about time earlier, that we have all the time in the world, and a lot of people say, well, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and I'll say yes. And how are you spending your 24 hours, and how am
Right.
I spending my 24 hours? Because yeah, people say I don't have time to do this. I'm like, okay, do you really want to go down this rabbit hole? And if they say yeah, then it's okay. Tell me what you do with every minute of your day right
Right.
now, and let's
Right.
analyze it, and let's look, and let's see where time is being not wasted but spent on something else, where maybe would you rather do this other thing that you say you don't have time for? And there's always time to be found somewhere, but also that that tying in with the past and the present, I mean the future. Yeah, the present is all that exists, and when
Right.
people are depressed, it's because they're focused on something that happened in the past. So
Right.
how much time per day are you depressed? An hour, 30 minutes? That's time that you are living in the past that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So you're bringing the past into the present. You're essentially time traveling in a way, if you think about it, right? For part of your day, for 30
Yep.
minutes or an hour a day, you're depressed about the past, and that's affecting your present, which you could be doing this other thing that might bring you joy. And then on the future piece, that's anxiety. When you're thinking about the future and you're worried about things that may happen, that's where the anxiety comes from. And why? Because once again, you're taking some of the time in the future that hasn't existed, maybe multiple different outcomes, different timelines, and you're compressing that down into the present time.
Right.
And now, how much time are you wasting worrying about the future? An hour or two? Most people, I think, worry about the future than maybe, and because they're like, oh, there's this bill that's due, there's this thing that's going to happen, or I'm going to be late for this, and you think about all these things instead of focused on the present. You could be working to prevent all that by not even worrying about it, by
Right.
doing the things that you want to do now.
Right.
um, so yeah, everything you said, it all goes together with the time management and past and future. if you're in the present and just paying attention, then I mean, like you tell us to sit for 9 seconds, 10 seconds, right? It seems like forever. Well, go sit for a minute.
Yeah.
Do nothing. Close your eyes or stare at a tree or, sit outside in the sun for a minute. Maybe on a hot day, go sit out in the sun for a minute or sit on the concrete and see how long that minute is while you're cooking, you know?
Right.
And then you'll realize that time can be a very long thing and it can be filled with the things you want versus cooking in the sun, right?
That's right.
I
That's
mean,
right.
there's a lot of tricks you can do. It's really all is tricks. We've been programmed our whole lives with the way we lived and everything that you don't have time. You got to rush here. You got to rush there. Your kids have to be in band and in soccer and like everyone driving their kids everywhere. It's like, okay, you're preparing your kids to run around. Get up, go to school. Then go to soccer practice and then run here and then run. And it's like people thought I was crazy, and I don't have children, and people thought I was crazy because, well, you don't have kids, right? And it's like, no, it's not about that. You can observe the world and see the rules that play out and how things should work if you have that mind for it and you're looking. You don't have to experience every good or bad thing to understand it somewhat,
Right.
or at least to see, oh, I see the trick that's going on there. They're making you do this, this, and that, and now you think it's a need and necessity. You have to have this big SUV because you got two kids and you got to haul them around. Well,
Right.
why?
Right.
You know, I wasn't involved in a lot of things growing up. I played soccer for a little bit, but my parents never drove us all over the place like some of these people today. It's
Yeah.
gotten out of hand, I think. But that's
I
all time, and it's teaching people to run around and do stuff all the time.
I agree with you. I saw a post today, and I think it's right in line with what you're saying. That people aren't addicted to their phone or to drugs or drinking or porn or whatever you want. They're not addicted to that.
Hmm.
They're addicted to a distraction from reality, whatever that
Yes.
is, enter
Hmm.
whatever that is. It could be something as innocent sounding as food or coffee, or we,
Hmm.
we, we all have these things.
Yeah.
And I found that to be really profound today because um, when you think, okay, what should I be doing? The next thing, when you do pause and you give yourself time, a lot of those things come to you that you thought you needed to you needed to strong hold it into a position. They'll come over time. It might be years.
Hmm.
But then, I look back over my life and now it's quite a bit of time since things have been, I've been through some low points in my life. Everyone has.
Yeah.
And now, several years now, a decade or more looking back at that, the beauty that is now would not have been possible if I spent all this time sort of fretting and deciding what my 3 year and 5 year and whatever plan. Those things are fine to,
Hmm.
I guess, amuse yourself for a little bit.
Hmm.
But if that's where you spend your time, you're really going to cut yourself off from that future. And I know this is, rather
Yeah.
up there. You
Yeah.
and I can hear it, but um, and even conversations with people where I think initially, kind of like you debating, I wanted to win or make sure I was heard or whatever else.
Hmm.
When I have not done that, that's been the most times when I've seen change in other people, adjustments for themselves. It might be in the same way that I was talking about, it might not. It's not about me trying to force something on them, but the universe is moving in a direction for each of us in exactly the way that we need.
It sounds like
And
you're saying to detach yourself from the outcome. Is that
yep, that's
right?
exactly right. That's exactly right. Because in reality, the outcome that may be meant for you or for me or for anyone could be unimaginably more beautiful than what our
Hmm.
wildest dreams are. It
Hmm.
could be a lot worse too. I
Hmm.
won't dispute that, but
Yeah.
it could be unimaginably more beautiful. So if our goal, if either of our goals is to have, you know, this by this time, by this size, by this whatever, we might be well short of what actually can be coming to us if we just allow it. If we
Hmm.
just allow it. And also, do we need all those things? Do we really need those things?
Well, it's
Not,
like,
I
what are
would
you
say no.
feeding into, right? Like, are you going to feed into the negativity or the positivity, and are you going to feed into limiting your possibilities versus
Right.
expanding your possibilities? Because a lot of times people there, I know, I've known of people that are very good people, very nice, very good hearts, and sometimes they have rough lives. And it's not for us to judge why. That's the journey they're on. Maybe it's for whatever reason, we don't know.
Right.
um, but I've also known people that are good, and like it's their attitude on how they are, right? Are they, well, everything bad always happens to me and I'm such a good person and I'm always doing this and that, and why does all this bad stuff happen to me? Or there's the ones that do the good without expecting anything, and they may have, a rough life, but their attitude is a little bit different, and then it changes later. They
Right.
understand, well, they'll say, this is what God has for me right now. I've got to learn something. I don't know what it is, but I'm still going to do good. Right. And you're feeding into the good stuff, and then it's going to come eventually. And you don't need to know when,
Right.
you just need to know that, you're a piece of God, you're a piece of creator, and this is just a different experience, right? We all have to experience our own different little pieces. And that, some people say, well, we're all pieces of God. We're here experiencing something, right? Well, would you want to split yourself up into bajillion pieces and have all the same experience and be the same person in all those different pieces? No, that's why we're all unique. Even
Right.
we can see the commonalities, but we have to appreciate the uniqueness of everyone's experience. And we're constantly being divided, and it's like, no, let's see what your experience is. Let's see what my experience is. Let's pull all the information together, because isn't that, if you believe this, really what's going on?
Right.
You know, everyone believes something different, but if that's really what's going on, then we should appreciate all the unique things in this world.
The uniqueness of things, and the, how do I say this? So we can't really perceive good without bad. We
Right.
can't really perceive light without dark.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a piece I'm sitting on and struggling still a little bit with about how to explain it, because it'll come off as callous. You and I've talked about this a little
Yeah.
bit, but if I were to make the statement, there are no tragedies,
Mm-hmm.
someone will be like, well, there's things I can see them all the time, and I know people that have been through tragedies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I understand that. I don't dispute that portion. But how would we know what's good without what's bad? There's a duality of that. Someone is up, someone is down. There's a balance to all those things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's callous. I think it's moving past staying like shackled to
Mm-hmm.
duality. But I think my observations have been that people have kind of felt, heard me say that, and they're like, well, don't you care? I do care, but I also care that there are universal truths and laws that happen, and there's a reason why all these things are happening. And I would certainly love there to be less loss in anyone's life, but there's
Mm-hmm.
also reasons that happens. There's a plan. And if something were to happen to me in the next second, and I'm gone, and if, unalive,
Mm-hmm.
that is as it should be. And I haven't yet found a way to explain, which just means it's not time for me to explain it in like real crisp words. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
that's not being passive. That's
It's,
accepting.
it's waiting for clarity.
Right.
It's waiting for the information on how to explain it to someone like they're 5 years old, right? Because if you can't explain it to a child,
Right.
then do you really understand the concept fully? And I think that that's something to be honored, that a person is like, well, I can't explain it right now. I need to think about it more. I don't know how to explain it properly, and maybe I'll explain it in a way that just turns you off, in a manner that may set you on a different path because of how you are. So there's honor definitely in waiting, not always answering a question. Like reporters always want to ask a politician or somebody a question, and you got to answer it now. And this is the thing. And if you pause, well, then you're guilty or whatever, right? And it's like, no, I mean, I need to think about, what are you really asking me? And it's not about self-incrimination. It's about, well, what is the proper answer to that question? And people don't want to think. That's
Right.
why I like those shows, like, I don't know, the political shows like Crossfire, or those old things where they would bam back and forth,
Right.
and a few seconds here and there. It's like, that's not the format to have those conversations. You need a format like this, where you're
Right.
sitting for an hour or two and just pause and think about it. And maybe you don't resolve anything. Maybe you don't solve the world's problems in a 2 hour podcast or a 3 hour or whatever. Maybe it's over years, right? The conversation is what matters.
That's right.
It's like you say often. I see you post often about, look at the message, not the messenger, because you and I have experienced this a lot over the past couple of years of, we get some messages from some people from what we're seeing them posting, right? Not that they're sending us direct messages, but we're pulling messages out of what we're seeing people post. And then later we find out that person is a grifter, or they're just,
Right.
rehashing information. And it's like, okay, well, I got those pieces of information. The messenger wasn't good, but I got what I needed from what they were saying, this little 10% out of the 100% that they're putting out there. And now I can move on. It wasn't about the messenger. It was that little message I got from them, because I've gotten lots of things out of people that now, like, I wouldn't associate with whatsoever. And if
Right.
people go that route, I'm like, well, maybe you'll find out something about them later, but go. I don't even see it as like you need to steer people away from the bad ones either now that they're
I
getting
don't
bad
either.
information. I used to go and be like, oh, well, this guy's this and this guy's that. And I forget, well, didn't my path involve getting involved with those people for a little bit, whether
There
they
you
were a
go.
bot or AI or an
Right.
evil person or running a black hat psyop or whatever the hell it is? It's all, I tell everyone, it's psyops all the way down. So
Right.
just grab what you need when you need it, what seems right, what seems just, whatever, and move on.
Right.
So even now I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say anything anymore, because it's a waste. And my journey led me through all those bad people. I've given things or messages to people, and I have said good things about them, and it's like now I know differently, but I got what I needed at the time.
That's
So
right.
who are we to steer someone off of their path, whatever it may be, right? We each had our own ways. You had told me about people that you got this from, and I was like, oh, well, I found out this and whatever, and you've done the same thing with me, maybe, but it's just like it was our path, right? And look where we are now.
I agree.
So there can be good that comes from bad, and
I
that's
agree
just
with you.
the same thing where it's intertwined, right?
It is. Yeah. Well, there's the beauty of psyops, I think, is that it's very much there's a majority of truth in a lot of psyops, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that other element that's at least to cause enough chaos or enough something or enough deceit that it
Mm-hmm.
just moves you slightly off center.
Yeah.
And so I hear you saying, who are we, you or I or anyone, to say, don't listen to this person or listen to this person or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I even take I take much more care in myself when I see a post that I want to repost or a picture or a video or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. I listen to it fully and I decide, is this where I'm at right now?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and I didn't always probably do that. Prior to that, I probably would be like, okay, the message is pretty much on point. I'm going to do it, or I'm going to repost it or make a
Mm-hmm.
comment or something. And I'm taking more care in that for me. And I agree with you too that we should consider listening or following or thinking or reading, very different pieces of material that
Mm-hmm.
completely align with us or completely are completely opposite or somewhere in
Mm-hmm.
between. Because I think each of us needs to have a lot more faith in our own heart and our own mind to come up with
Mm-hmm.
the conclusion in the time that it's supposed to. That
Mm-hmm.
might take a lot more time than any of us want, but
Yeah.
full truth is not something that just happens like that. It comes over
Mm-hmm.
time. It really
Well,
does.
you talk about that. I've planted seeds, with my family, and two of them are fully on board, flying. Looking, they're still figuring out their ways and different things, and then the other two aren't.
Right.
They're fully, they're like Cypher in the Matrix. If people remember, Cypher was the one that turned on everyone.
Right.
He was on the good guys team, and then he turned on everyone, and even so far as saying that I know this steak isn't real, but I like eating the steak and I want to stay in the matrix, right?
Right.
And we can't make people do anything, right? All we can do is plant the seeds. And you were talking about something that made me think about even a broken clock is right, once a day. And
That's
people
right.
use that argument to try to tear down someone else's side, right? Because they're like, oh, well, so and so said this and that happened, and they're like, well, even a broken clock works once, is right once a day. And I think about that, and I'm like, well, let's look at it a different way. Okay, so this person that we're getting information from, maybe they're right a couple times about some things, and the rest of it is garbage, right? Maybe that's what it means.
Right.
So even though this person is broken, they're a broken clock, they do spit out some truth, either knowingly or unknowingly, or maybe the truth is the bit that they use to pull you in to get on a subscription or something, right?
Right.
And that's where you have to use your discernment.
That's
Figure
right.
out what they put is true, and maybe you don't subscribe to them for $5 a month or $10 a month because 90% of what they put out is false, right? And it was just that little bit. That was the way to get you in the door, right? Was that little bit of truth. And they give you just enough to whet your appetite, but not give you the full truth, right?
Right.
But that little bit was true. So we just need to think about everything. Like, we don't shouldn't be falling into echo chambers either, right? Don't go looking for what you think is real and then suck onto those people, latch on that they're going to be the ones that are going to give you everything.
Right.
I look at things and go to places on the internet that, are groups and stuff that may not align with what I think, but they may have some information in there that is valuable and it lets me see something from a different perspective. So I'm not trying to just be in a room with everyone that's like me, you
Right.
know, like I want to see the conflicts. I want to see the arguments. Um, Not like verbal fistfight arguments or something, but like I want to see the for and against and figure it out myself. Like, okay, well, your argument is partially true and yours is partially true too. Why can't y'all see on both sides why you're both a little right and you're both a lot wrong, or whatever it may be, right? Um, I think
Even
people are starting to get away from that a little bit. The echo chambers.
I I I agree with you. And we might even be able to consider that being able to see people disagree is to have the polars of disagreement and agreement. If you're just
Mhm.
talking with people that you agree with,
Mhm.
that's probably not going to get you too far towards enlightenment, whatever that means for each of us.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's great that you do that.
Mhm.
Um,
I'm just curious, and I've always, for some reason, wanted truth in everything. I've believed a lot of things that weren't true. I know things now that are true, and also there's things that I may think I know are true that aren't true, right? And I've just always wanted truth, and I've been curious. And I think if you want truth and you're curious, you will find that the truth is always changing because you're always learning more.
right. I agree. This makes me think of something. I've been thinking about this for a little while, and I'm thinking of this situation where what would be if I had the ability to provide a healing center, if you will, whatever healing means. That might be physical,
Mhm.
emotional, spiritual. It might be all things. All things would be great. What would be what I would talk about, or what would be like the syllabus or the curriculum of it? And where I'm at today, I've actually arrived at. I don't think I would. There'd have to be some, probably a little bit of a plan, but I'd rather there be very little given as far as a plan. But walk through this with me and
Yeah.
see if it, yeah, see if
Yeah,
it
I want
resonates.
to see how in alignment we are with this because I've had thoughts about this too.
So, so let's pretend for a moment that that money is not an object. That like
Mhm.
I've fallen into an amount that I can just say, hey, for anyone who would like to um, show up at this point on this day, we're going to be here for a period of time, 3 days,
Yeah,
5 days a week, something like
yeah.
that. And so there's no barrier to entry for that.
Mhm.
The only barrier might be people being like, well, what's it about? And I'm like, we're just going to meet and see where it goes.
Yeah, and
That
let's
might
say
be,
we're removing barriers of, we want you in person, but if you can't make it in person, we'll provide online live video and you can participate that way. So then that's not
right.
a barrier either.
Right. So you bring all these people into a room, virtually or
Mhm.
otherwise,
Mhm.
and everyone gets in, they sit down, in chairs or whatever and get comfortable. And then there's just silence, some period of time.
Mhm.
Um, People start looking around and they're like, are we going to do anything? I'm like, we're doing it. We're doing it right
Mhm.
now. And
Mhm.
then maybe after a while, someone starts talking, and just wherever that conversation goes, we just start moving in that. Very similar to what we do here.
Mhm.
And do I know where all that will go? No, but that's also the beauty, I think, of where it is. And I just feel right now at the end of those 3 days or those 5 days or those 7 days, whether there's activities we arrive at because it comes up in conversation that's nearby we can go do, or whether we just do that every day for whatever period of time it is. At the end of whatever that time frame is, if we look back on it, will the benefits be really less than if you and I had come together with like a curriculum and we must do this output and have this goal and do this? If we asked people to give us feedback at the end, would it really be that far off? Would they both be as beneficial? And I feel like it would be just as beneficial, or maybe even more, just by just allowing people to be and see where it goes. What do you think about that?
I think that's perfect. And I think it's great starting with silence. Um, Especially if we just say, okay, here, we're going to start at 9. We need you to be in your seats by 9 and be quiet. And then, like
Right.
you said, we just have silence, right? Maybe it's a minute, you know, and maybe, yeah, everyone starts looking around. And then we could say, okay, we just sat in silence for a minute. And I know it was probably the most difficult thing, but what did you think about it? And then have a conversation. And then also asking, is there anything that you thought about that you feel you need to share with everybody right now?
Right.
And then let the conversation go. And it's just like we do our podcast all the time, right? Like we let the conversation go. We prompt with some things, but this is a different kind of prompt, right? This is a silence prompt because now
Right.
people are in their silence. They're not talking to each other, and what came in their head and what was relevant. Maybe someone had something that they thought about in the silence that maybe it's causing pain or whatever. Because let's face it, most everyone that shows up is going to be there because they have a problem, right? There's
Right.
pain, there's something. And then we go from there. And then maybe, by the end of the day, it's like, okay, now we know what we're going to talk about tomorrow because we know what the room talked about today and we know what we're going to talk about tomorrow. And then we could say, okay, by the way, tomorrow, now, because of what happened today, we're going to talk about this tomorrow.
Right.
So start thinking about that today when you come back and let's see where it goes. And I think really just listening to people and giving everyone a chance to speak if they want. Not
Right.
everyone has to. There may be someone that's there the whole time, never says anything or contributes in a way, but they got so much, and maybe just their energy is there and contributing, right? And we have to make sure
Right.
people understand that too, that everyone will be contributing, and it may not necessarily be with ideas or sharing. It may be in other ways. It may be in listening. Maybe they're there as an ear to other students or other people that are there, right? So I like it. I think that's a very good format. I don't know. The people that it resonates with would show up. The ones that need a full, 2-day, hour by hour schedule and whatever may see like, oh, well, I don't know what the value is in this, so I'm not going to pay for it, or I'm not going to invest my time.
Right.
Really investing your time is the biggest thing, right? And if they don't want to invest their time, but then those are the ones that it's not for. They're not there yet, or it's a
That's
different
right.
way for them to do something to grow, right? Not
That's right.
everything is for everybody.
I agree with you. Yeah, that's what it would be. I think that's the only investment, an investment of time. If we can remove the money part of
Yeah.
it, it's just an investment of time.
Yeah, and we would just let them know, hey, there's no schedule. We have an idea of what we're going to do, but we don't want you to know anything. We want you to come in
Right.
blind and just have a new experience. Because how many
Right.
people have an experience like that? I doubt there's many people doing that. There may be some in the world that do that and have done that over time, but it's not the predominant thing, right? Like I'm not getting ads for, hey, show up to this thing. I don't know you're not going to know what you're going to do. You're just going to come show up, you
Right.
know? Um, I never get that advertisement. So,
Well, I agree with you. I don't either, and hopefully it is happening.
mhm,
And I'm not thinking that this is like go to a mountaintop and
mhm. No,
meditate.
yeah.
And it's really less. It's even less controlled than that. It's whatever arrives arrives.
Mhm.
And you mentioned about people not saying anything. There might be. Let me back up. There is a there is an unimaginable power in collective consciousness. And when we're silent or less distracted, a lot of beautiful things happen. and there might be, a one phrase or a one sentence or something that someone hasn't said anything the entire week that says it at the end, which might
Mhm.
make the entire thing worthwhile to someone else.
Mhm.
And that wouldn't come through unless there was space given for it. Your investment is your time and holding space with other people. What are we going to
So
do? We don't know yet. We don't know what we're going to do,
yeah,
but we're going to do something, even if it's just nothing.
I think about all the conferences I've been to. I'm sure you've been to many, being in IT, but
Yeah.
how many times did you go to a conference and maybe this particular day you got nothing from any of the speakers or presentations or the booths, but at breakfast or at lunch with somebody, you're having a conversation and like you don't even want to go to the next thing at one because you're having such a good conversation. That's happened to me.
That's
I've
right.
I've sat there and talked to people, and skipped the next session, right? Because the
Yep.
conversation was so good, it was very relevant, and maybe that's how this thing is very valuable to some people.
That's right.
It's just would be a different thing, and now like I'm really itching to start this now because it's like such a good idea, and I
Well,
think a lot of people would actually enjoy it, and it would change lives. It probably would change our lives too.
yes, it would. Oh, it
Yeah,
absolutely would. I
yeah.
mean, think of it this way: if you're looking at a conference or you're looking at what we're describing, whatever amount of days, let's just say it's 5.
Yeah.
If it's 5 days, there might be really one specific thing that those entire 5 days are going to include for you. And the
Mhm,
rest of it is just experience that might not be as meaningful as that. And you won't
mhm,
know until you find it. And when you find it, you're going to want to, you're going to want to lean into it. And
mhm,
then think of what that might carry through your life. I mean, yeah, and I agree with you. I think it would be very beneficial for everyone involved, including you and I.
mhm,
Um, the most the most profound conversations that I've had are ones where I didn't really know where it was going to go or what would happen or anything. And I let go of the worry. I let go of trying to make sure I made this point or that point, and it just happens over time.
mhm,
I think it's beautiful. I can't wait to get
mhm.
started.
Yeah, I have other ideas too around like because there's always a money conversation on it, right? And some people like I keep seeing money lately in the form of people arguing, well, should we pay anybody for any of this stuff because it's just truth and truth should be free? And I'm seeing people having this conversation saying, well, there should be some money because it's an energetic exchange, and
Right.
also if people don't pay for something they don't value it and they might not show up. So I've already ran through all that and I have ideas about that because you don't want it to be a burden, but you also don't want it to be where people are just signing up and not invested in it because you want people invested in it too. But that would be
Right.
something for offline. But I have a neat idea for that kind of works with that part of the 3D world, and it works with our desires to want to just accept anybody in there.
Yeah. 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 You bring up accepting anybody in there. I've been thinking about. I'm like, okay, if we go forward with this idea, all
Mhm.
right, well, say you invite everyone. Doesn't matter
Mhm.
who it is. You don't screen anything. You just bring
Yeah.
people in. And so, how, does there need to be a prerequisite that people want to participate and they're going to be kind, they're going to be loving
Mhm.
and compassionate? Okay, yeah, potentially, but
Mhm.
also then I start thinking, well, should we? I mean, should there be someone in there to be argumentative and all that, and
Mhm.
then allow people to kind of
Mhm.
witness it and engage and decide what they want to do for that too.
Mhm.
I don't know. I haven't landed on where that would go, but
Yeah, I haven't thought
just
about that part yet.
I just think very much about how important silence and giving each other space and holding it. There,
I think it would be fun to say, hey, we're also looking for people that have been heavy talkers their whole life and never shut up. Because you're gonna, I mean, hell, both of us, right? I mean, I got written up in school all the time for talking. My
right.
mom did too. But they showed me one of my mom's report cards, I think, one time where she got written up. So it's just funny, but yeah, I mean, I think it would all flow very well just because having everyone together and listening and sharing, like it would all flow pretty well. Like all our podcasts flow pretty well, and we don't set out with a plan. In
That's
my
right.
life, I didn't set out with a plan, and it's flowed pretty well. I think like everything has happened how it's supposed to happen. I have no regrets. I don't think about the past in a sad way. And I'm
Right.
not, I mean, I look forward to a joyful future and many amazing things more than we could even imagine, probably. But I'm not like thinking about it all the time or worried about it. Like
Right.
you can't daydream all the time either. You got to be
Ev-
present.
well, everything has led you to this moment. You wouldn't
Mhm,
be the person in front of me on this screen if you didn't go through all these experiences,
mhm.
myself included.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I I'm
It
very
would be weird and it would be fun too, this whole thing.
oh I agree. I totally
But the
agree.
weirdness, I think, is where the stuff really happens. It's like where it really takes off.
I agree with you. Yeah, and
Mhm,
I think it would be incredibly interesting to get every individual is unique, of course, but the group that may show up to something like this, I think it might be otherworldly beautiful,
mhm,
and you would never imagine what might come up. Will each time it's done be like that? Maybe not, or maybe it
mhm.
will.
Yeah.
Um, I think I think I'm really embracing the discomfort that evolves from even saying this way. Because
Having
again,
like super rough outline, right? Like here's day one, and it's
right,
not really, we've been to conferences where they give us a whole full detail. It's where it's minute by minute, right?
that's right.
15-minute chunks, 30-minute, hour, and here it'll be like this is day one, here's day two, and I don't know about day three or four or whatever, right? Like
Right,
it'll
right.
be something like this. I mean, though we may have some activities that we're going to do no matter what, and maybe it's like icebreaker activities or something, but
That's right.
for the most part, it's not like what are we going to say you're going to get by the end of this? Well, by the end of this, you're going to have more clarity into yourself and you're going to be a changed person, in some form or fashion. This will affect you in a way. And it will, let's say, get you out of the mud. You're going to get moving in a direction.
Correct.
By the time all
And
this is said and done, you'll have the ability to do that.
and I agree with you, and you'll find a way to be more comfortable with being uncomfortable with no distractions.
Mhm.
Meaning if it's not filler where you're just here scrolling on your phone, or you're sort of,
Mhm.
you're present, even if it's just in silence. And that can
Mhm.
be uncomfortable for most
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of beauty there. There's a lot of
Yeah.
beauty there.
Yeah.
Brother, I appreciate you making the time for me
Yeah.
today.
Same
Thank
to
you,
you.
everyone who listened to this. If anyone has feedback on the concept or anything else, or run with it, I mean,
Mhm.
there's plenty of world to go
Yeah,
around.
we're laying the groundwork here for y'all to do this too. It's not like everyone can do something like this.
That's right. Well, even like when you and I started doing this whole podcast conversation thing, we're like, we hope everyone does this,
Yeah.
and just it's not a there's no trademark on authentic conversations and just seeing where the
And there's
conversation.
only one you, right? I can't be you, Adam. I can't go and do a podcast with somebody else and be you. I'm me and you're you, right? Like everyone has something to offer. That's the main thing to think about is there's not scarcity of anything. And really the only scarcity is the sliver of you and how unique you are, right? Everything else there's abundance.
That's right. All there is abundance.
Mhm.
Um, to close us off, let's take those 9 seconds of silence and know how much abundance there is for everyone. So, um, eyes open or eyes closed, everyone. If you'd like to play along, and let's just be for a moment. Brother, I love you. Thank you very much for
Love you
making
too,
the
brother.
time. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. All right.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
All right. See you later.